Hi everybody, welcome back to another Dungeon Boss Hero Spotlight. Today we are going to be taking a look at the green demon machine that is Tsume. So Tsume's epic just came out, so I figured this would be a great time to do a Hero Spotlight. Normally I was reserving the Hero Spotlight for basically those heroes that are good but nobody are using. But being that an epic came out, I thought maybe I would combine this with an epic review just to kind of ball things in together into one nice little video here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Tsume, basically look at some pros and cons, see if this epic is going to change the game at all, if it's going to make him better, make him any more usable. We'll take a look at see what sort of things we're looking at here. So first off, let's go ahead and jump into the Hero Spotlight section. So let's first pull up Tsume. See if I can find him. He's going to be towards the bottom because he's not that great. So there's my Leprechaun Tsume. He's got no runes on him right now, but he does have the Blessing of the Seeker. As far as stats go, he's got pretty middle of the road stats. For the most part, Tsume's strength comes from him getting beaten down, and that makes him stronger courtesy of his Savage Fury. Now, those that have been around in the game long enough will know that this Savage Fury was ultimately nerfed probably close to a year ago already. It used to be so much better in terms that it triggered at 75% instead of 50%. It allowed you to get a better use out of Tsume earlier, which allowed you to do more damage. And unfortunately, they changed that when they did a big demon buff, and ultimately it ruined Tsume's place in the game. He really hasn't been the same since, and just really hasn't had much purpose at this point. So back in PvP, before runes really got out of hand, Tsume was actually a pretty awesome way to handle the bait team of Black Diamond, Kira, and Rocky, because when Black Diamond and Kira would both go, they would do just enough damage to basically take Tsume down to almost nothing, and then he would come in with Soul Shred and he would just whip everybody. And that was also before Rocky's Spore Cloud, or whatever it's called, was as powerful as it was. So it didn't give the evasion that it did, and well, it did, but I don't know what I'm thinking of. But basically, Tsume was really awesome for PvP because he could take a little bit of damage, and then ultimately, when his Savage Fury kicked in, he could dish it out. Now, looking at him, without any runes on him, 2100 is actually not that bad of an attack. He's, pretty decent. If we look at his base attack and compare it to somebody else of a similar nature, little pun there because he's a nature hero, his base is 1872. Let's compare that to, certainly not Jabberjaw. Jabberjaw sucks bad. Somebody else that people are going to be using. So his base attack was 1872. Viperia's base attack is 2100, so I guess it's a little bit higher, but in the grand scheme of things, without runes, he's pretty on par with a lot of different heroes of that sort. Now, the odd thing about Tsume, he's difficult to play. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all, which basically means he has no place in PvP. His strength comes from him getting attacked and whittled down so that you can trigger this Savage Fury trait, which is just hard to do now that it's 50% and under, because you have to really micromanage that health, and it's a very fine line between getting it to trigger with max benefits and him dying. And so, because it doesn't trigger at 75% anymore, it's just hard to get any use out of it. That's not to say that he's not useful in some cases. I'm actually going to show this in a little bit. But looking at his Spirit of Nature, this increased attack by 15% for all nature allies is basically one of his best perks right now. Because even though he himself is not that great, he can make your team better if you're running an all-nature team. That being said, running an all-nature team, most people already are thinking, why do we need Tsume for this? We already have the goblins for it. So realistically, if you're running an all-nature team, you're probably running it against a water dungeon. If you're not running against a water dungeon, you just use all 4 of the goblins. So this option here is basically a replacement for Squinch if you want to boost the attack. And actually that's what I use for running the Savage Grove as well, just to, because he has to be in there to get his epic and then run the other 3 goblins, and it actually runs really, really, really well. His other one here is this PvP buff. It said, excuse me, Tsume is really, he's not going to hold up in PvP, even with his epic, I don't think. His defense, if you look at it, is very low. His health is fairly low as well. He's not armored, so he dies really easily. So let's go ahead and look at his epic right now. So right now, I haven't gone for the epic. We're going to do that live on video here. So you can see if we get a nice 1-for-1 attempt, which I'm kind of notorious for getting lucky on the first try. So we'll see how that pans out. But let's look at his stats here. So if you're not familiar with the epic stats right now, essentially they all follow a very, very, very predictable pattern. The top stat is always going to be 30%, regardless of what it is. It's always going to be attack, health, or defense. The middle stat is almost always going to be 20%, and it's usually going to be really any of them except for critical. So this one here, he's going to end up getting 30% defense, 20% max health, and 10% crit. So what does this amount for as far as stats? Is it going to help with PvP? Is it going to help with PvE? We kind of already ruled him out of PvP just because it's unlikely that he's going to be able to survive. I think a direct hit from Kira, Black Diamond, Shadowblade, Shade, Torchy, even Hopper, I think every one of those people are going to kill him on the opening attack. Unless we absolutely pimp out his defense with bulwarks, maybe he could survive to the point where that Savage Fury kicks in. And actually, if you guys want to see this and see if that's plausible, let me know in the comments. I will put this on the agenda for the live stream, and we will try and do some Tsume teams, and we'll see if we can keep this guy alive to do some damage with Savage Fury. The problem is the amount of bulwarks and life runes that it's going to take to keep him alive in some of the hardcore level 70 PvP. We may not have much left for attacking, so we're going to have to look at some of our PvP runes, see if we can find a decent balance, and see if he can stay alive. The benefit of having him in PvP is obviously his Savage Fury does the buff purge, so if you're taking on someone like the Reptiles, it's not a bad idea to have that ability. Unfortunately, if you're going to get someone like Rocky Reptiles, he's going to die instantly from Viperia, he's going to die instantly from Cobrasa, so keeping him alive is going to be a very, very, very tall order. So when we do the live stream, if you want to see that, let me know, and we will sort through some runes, and we'll see if we can put something on him to keep him alive and kicking. So being that he has the defense buff and the health buff, that is the only real shining part of the PvP usage. Again, though, even if we rack these things up high, I don't know if he's going to be able to survive the big hitters. That being said, he should be extremely viable in PvE. The only thing is, I don't think that he is necessary in PvE. Back in the day when there weren't as many heroes, and certainly not as many nature heroes, he had a lot higher priority because he was, one of the best. And he takes a little bit of damage, and he does even more damage in return. In this scenario now, it's really just a matter of why would we use him when we have all these other nature heroes. We can run all goblin teams, we can run goblins plus someone like Lily, someone like Viperia. Both of those are much bigger and better people than running Tsume. So that brings us to the epic then. So we've already discussed that Tsume is great and all for certain situations, but he's just no longer necessary. And even if we pimp him out with the best runes, is he going to live up to somebody like Viperia? Probably not as far as damage-wise. Defense-wise, is he going to be as beneficial and powerful as someone like Lily when she gets a couple of stacks? Probably not. So he really falls in the middle of the road in terms of dealing out damage. And even compared to the goblins, just because he can't proc anything, he can't get extra turns like Zerk gets, he doesn't have near the hitting power that Bramble has, nor the life power that Bramble has, he doesn't heal like Nub Nub does. So he's just a good middle-of-the-road hero, good for low levels, people that get him early. Obviously you're not going to get the epic early, but he might be useful at that point. So let's go ahead and look at his epic then. So we see that it's 30% and then 20% max health and then 10% crit. In the grand scheme of things, I think this is going to ultimately make him a dungeon runner. Let's see who he's going to actually be best paired with. If we're going to run dungeons with him, we're assuming we're going to be running water dungeons. So let's just say hypothetically that we don't have the goblins, or maybe you have goblins but you don't have bramble, so you're not going to get all the best goblin benefits. Who's going to be the best option to run him with? And for that, we want to look at the rest of his stats then. So this Spirit of Nature, increase attack for all nature allies. The first one that pretty much stands out, and I think that we should really consider this. If you're running a nature team, run him with... Where is she? I probably passed her. Run him with Lily. And there's a reason for that. We want to create a team that works well together. And Lily has some nice nature perks here. First off, Oxidized Sap. Nature allies deal extra damage to armored. Basically, if you're running a tougher armored version of a water dungeon, this will help Tsume deal even more damage. More so, even without this. The reason that if we're running a hard dungeon with Lily and you need a damage dealer, let's just say you're running boss mode King Kong. And that's a long, arduous fight, and you don't get a lot of crits and you don't get a lot of extra damage. This little guy here, one with nature, that is going to be beastly with Tsume. So you start stacking this here where he gets more health, and then you actually get some buffs, and he starts doing more damage. He's going to be pretty helpful in the long run. So this would be my first choice as far as a synergetic person with Tsume, as far as running a long, difficult dungeon. And then my next one, pretty much one of two options, and it depends on really where you stand as far as the kind of dungeon and what kind of enemies you're dealing with. Lily and Tsume are both kind of squishy, so it may make more sense to run Willow with that group. Willow does this here, increase health by 15% for all nature allies. So a good little perk to have for them, basically, especially since Lily doesn't get strong until a couple of turns in. And Tsume is already kind of weak, so she's a good alternative. If you're dealing with fast enemies, she can be a good lead off for that, so that's kind of helpful. Either that, or let's see if we can find my buddy Bovis. Bovis, in my opinion, is a better option for it. He's got regenerate. Where's his other trait here? It's the warrior one. Tsume is a warrior, so he gets extra health for that. So that's a good little buff for him. The reason I personally would pick Bovis over Willow is his epic is much better for dungeon running. Much better. And then besides that, really all we can do is we can pick Nub for the healer. And we could run Yasmin. If we're running a water dungeon, Yasmin's not a problem. But mostly you'd probably run Nub. The reason being is if you're running a long dungeon, you want to use all nature heroes to get the best use out of Lily's one with nature skill. If you can turn Nub into a plant, he's going to be even more powerful than he actually is. So we're going to look at the actual epic itself. That's what we're going to do first. We'll see if we can get it to actually trigger here with this ride-along dungeon. I did run this once because I wanted to see it and get some initial impressions out of it before rolling it out to the group here. I'm basically just going to let this auto-run. Now, the first thing that I saw when I went into this dungeon is the all-demon team. All demons are not really the answer. We don't really have a demon healer, so an all-demon team, while it sounds great, maybe for PvP, is going to get utterly destroyed. I don't care what any of the demons are. You come in with Kira and you're gonna wreck things up a little bit. So if anybody ever ran all demons, I'm going to attack you all day. I guarantee it, and everybody else should as well, because it's not going to cut it. And honestly, any team that's not including a fast hero, you're done with. So if you can show me a non-fast PvP defense that has a high win percent, I will eat my words there. But I do not know of any non-fast hero defense that has any type of win rate. In fact, those are the ones I look for the most when I attack. So So we can auto run this for the most part. I'm going to bring a couple of revive potions because I'm not going to worry about trying to heal and stuff like that. So I'm just going to auto run some of this and try and get some attacks to proc. And that's another reason why this epic isn't game changing for PvP, because you're going to be using Tsume for his skills, and if he makes it out of the first round, sure, you could do some basic attacks and try to get an epic in there, but I don't think it's going to be anything that we need. If you use him on PvP defense, he's going to go through all three of his skills before anything actually, happens. So let's just auto run this, see if we can't survive a little bit here. And we'll see if we can get one to trigger. I don't know what the epic level is or the percent. I feel like it's got to be 30%. There it is. So here's the first thing that I wanted to show here. And actually, that one, it's because it was a weaker enemy. One of the things that I noticed with this epic, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I thought it was an oddity. So looking at the actual mechanic of it, the mechanic of this epic is that it drops his health down to 15%, presumably to trigger the maximum effect of Savage Fury, which is great and all, but don't let it fool you. It's basically just a disguise. Essentially, they could have just as easily made it the same as every other epic and say, do 2.5 damage, or whatever, 2.5 or 3 times damage to the target, and they could just add lifesteal, because that's really all it's doing, is by essentially dropping his health down to 15%, you're maximizing that Savage Fury, which has a set value to it, which is probably 2.5%. And if I see it proc here, we'll get a confirmation of that. So really, what's the purpose of that thing then, other than to get some lifesteal? Honestly, let's see if we can get one to trigger here before I finish my train of thought, and it doesn't look like it's doing that. And then I'll let you know what my thought was here. He's got to do one eventually here. Well, let's attack this gal here. Nope, still no. So what I was thinking is, when I ran this before, there's a few enemies where I attacked, like this here. Watch his health. Okay, that one went back up, but if he would have attacked somebody that was armored, it doesn't bring his health back to full health. And like I said, I don't know if that is see, look at that. Look at his health. It's only just over half. Now this, I don't know if that is a by design type process, because remember, Tsume's strength comes from taking damage. So yeah, if he doesn't recover all of his health when he does this, it's probably good for him to deal more attacks that way when he does his next turn, but it also leaves him extremely susceptible to taking more damage, especially since when I was running through this, he was full health, did his epic, dropped down to 15%, and recovered back to 50. What happens if the next person comes along, like this little caster gal here, decides to whip out some hardcore attack on him? All of a sudden he's dead because he doesn't have full health. So that's the one thing that I wanted you to take away from his epic, in terms of, is this going to be a game-changing epic? I don't think it's going to make Tsume any more or any less valuable as far as a team goes. If we're running him on a team in PvE dungeons, we pretty much already outlined a team that's going to make him powerful. And that was our Lily, Bolvis, and Nub Nub team. We're not probably going to auto-run anything with that. In fact, an auto-run team with Tsume, I just don't see it happening. There's really nothing out there. Certainly not a demon team that's going to auto-run. So, and if his health is going to keep dropping down and then only recover some, particularly when we get to very difficult challenge mode dungeons or even boss mode dungeons, I just don't see that as being useful. It's going to make him much more susceptible to death. So this notion of dropping his health down to 15%, I feel like it is something that the devs had in mind, in terms of lowering his health so that he gets the buff, and then adding lifesteal to get that life back. But the 100% lifesteal is only good if he's dealing tons of damage, like against those spirits. If he's going against an armored person, he doesn't get any of that back. It would have been better if he would actually just missed and got his health back anyways. Of course, he wouldn't have done the damage, but at least he'd still be alive. So I personally am not a fan of the mechanic. I would have rather just said do 2.5 times damage and lifesteal. Why does it have to lower his health just to trigger Savage Fury? In reality, what would have been awesome is if it just did the damage multiplier, and then if he already had low health, then we're taking like, times 2.5 damage plus whatever the epic's going to kick in, and have him do something like times 5 or even like times 10, maybe not times 10, but you know what I'm saying is a much bigger attack that way, because having the Savage Fury trait as well as an epic trigger, that would have made him much more useful if you're going against someone like Kang Kung, who just takes forever to kill in boss mode. If you've done boss mode Kang Kung, it is a marathon. It's not hard, but it's a marathon. And so, like I said, I don't care so much for his epic. The only thing I like about his epic is the sword is pretty effing cool. I do like the sword, and actually I'm going to switch back to regular so that I can use the epic instead of the Leprechaun Tsume. That's kind of outworn itself. I don't really care for that too much anymore. So as far as the epic goes, Tsume is not going to be one that's game-changing in terms of either the PvP aspects or really PvE for that matter. He's just going to be kind of there. Personally, it's not going to be an epic that I spend any time on. I will keep my nature totems for the next person that comes around. It's just not going to be a high priority for me. So you can take that with a grain of salt. If you love Tsume to death and want to keep on using him, for some reason you have a very weak hero roster and he's your go-to guy, sure, you can invest in this epic. But if you're low level, don't feel like you're missing out on anything. It's not really game-changing. Now we're going to go and do a quick run of the Savage Grove. See how it goes with Tsume in place here. Remember, Tsume gives a great little buff to the team, which makes the goblins much more formidable in this one here. I don't even have to do anything else, and the goblins just absolutely trounce this one. So the only thing that I have to worry about, I kind of wonder if by having Nub Nub in this fight, it's going to take away from the drop percentage in terms of the epic. But I'm going to roll with it and see if I can get a 1-for-1 shot on here. Now, the way that I usually run this, and I don't do a lot of Boss Island tutorials, at least as far as the basic ones. Once you get to the point where you can auto-run these, I mean, it's just cruise control. And I know the goal for a lot of people is to get so you can auto-run all 5 of these. It's certainly convenient if you want to try and do some of this in your downtime. You don't have to sit and micromanage the entire thing. And actually, fun little fact, I've never noticed this before, but if we look in the background, there's a little castle back there, and I never seen that before. That is actually pretty cool. So when I run Savage, I just auto-run for the first turn here, and the goblins will do their thing. I don't usually like 3 of those titans. They may actually kill somebody. That's when things get really super annoying, when 3 of those go. Yep, that's what they do. They like to pick on Zerk. It happens. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape. That's what I sign up for when I have the Goblin team. But basically, once I get to the second room, that's when I kick things up a notch usually. If I'm just flat out auto-running this, then I don't worry about it too much. Usually you can go through the entire thing without too much trouble. But usually if I'm like actively playing, but playing on both accounts, I'll have both my tablets up and just kind of double fisting both of them. But when I get to the second room, I usually like to use the Goblin Dance Party, because it's going to bump everybody up. It's going to go on Crit Fest, and because it's going to be such a huge Crit Fest, it's going to last through the first mini-boss, and then I don't have to worry about charging it again. And that's really the goal, is so that it lasts just long enough. Where I use this on the first room, it would expire right before the mini-boss, and then we run into possible problems. Now, I haven't had issues with Savage Grove in a very long time. I usually run it with, obviously, all 4 goblins, and my squinch tears through these guys big time. But now we get to the boss room 1, and it should still be up. Still up, so these guys are all pretty much toast. Tsume takes out the little guy, that's good for him. And then we just get Crit Fest galore. And so then at this point we can just let this auto run up until the second to last room, so we can go into the boss room again with the Goblin Dance Party. So can't really tell too much how much extra damage that Tsume is giving the team, but having seen this team run many times, just seeing the numbers, I can tell that it's quite a bit higher, and it is pretty amazing. So, as I said, I don't think Tsume is ever going to make it into the top 10, top 20. I think he's just kind of there. But I'm kind of running out of things to say, both for and against Tsume. So we're just going to ride this one out here for the next couple of minutes until we can get a look and see if we get his actual epic then. Be kind of nice if I do. That'd be a nice little cherry on top to this video to show my amazing luck. Like I said, I feel like Nub Nub is possibly going to take away from that. So when I start auto running this to really get the epic afterwards, I'll probably swap Nub Nub out for Yasmin, just to guarantee that all drop things are going towards Tsume. But yeah, you can see on an auto run team, Tsume's health never really goes down low enough where his Savage Fury is ever going to make a difference. Couple more hits here and we should be good to go. Oh, whoa, Mr. Green Titan. Tree skin some bitch. That was a low blow. I feel like really giving him the business now. Who's gonna go here? I'm gonna pick my buddy Jay Lasher just because I beat him in PvP in the last tournament. Kind of felt bad for attacking him, but I was trying to get up to Legend 1. And had to attack my own guild ally. Oh, that little green Kai, though. Fear immune. Eh. Alright, here we go. Drum roll. Are we going to get the epic on the first try? We get some tomes. Survey says... Bam! How about that? That is what I am talking about. So first run, first try, and we get Howling Saber. So, loving that. We'll go in there, we'll pull off that stupid leprechaun skin, we'll put this on him, and then he'll probably be epic level 1 indefinitely until I have hundreds upon hundreds of totems, and I just feel like upgrading something. So we'll put that on him, make him look a little bit cooler, and then leave him sitting around like Nitpick. And just to put this out there, I know it's kind of a Captain Hindsight type thing, but earlier today I saw that Savage Grove was up when it was not supposed to be. It was supposed to be just Pestilent Spiral. And I thought to myself, oh, there's going to be a nature epic released today. And I got my hopes so high for Hagram instead, because I thought they would be building off of that dwarf team, and they did not. And I was very upset because Dev said that the next epic was going to be a fan favorite, and Tsume has not been a fan favorite for quite some time. So I feel like there's a little bit of misdirection there. So I'm a little bit upset about that. Anyways, epic level 1. I could upgrade it a little bit, but honestly, I'm not going to use... I guess it makes sense to use it because they got these stupid little carrots or whatever the hell they are, since I'm capped out on them. Let's just do the first couple. There. We just did it to the next level here and call it a day. So, not going to do much more. He gets a little bit of defense, a little bit of health bump. But anyways, you'll be hearing about Tsume again in a little bit. I'm not going to give away the exact details, but I will be bringing him up one more time in the very near future. Anyways, we're about at the end of the line here. We're coming up on 30 minutes. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. If you managed to sit through this entire video, I certainly thank you for that. But again, I just want to reiterate the live stream that is coming up on July 1st. If you would like to experiment with Tsume, see if this guy has a snowball's chance in hell in surviving in PvP, even with the absolute best runes on him, I'd be happy to try it. I'm going to be looking for suggestions from the viewers, so hopefully we get a few people tuned in. If it is just 2 or 3 of us, it may not be as exciting, but it'll certainly be much more intimate and probably ultimately a lot shorter live stream. Also, as a quick disclaimer, the live stream is a test. Never done it before, don't know how it's going to work, if it's going to work, or if it's even going to happen. So you will have to bear with me there. But I am looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. So until then, we will see you again next time. Thanks. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.